Hi, guys. This is R.A. Sweeney here to talk to you about another passage from the book Praying with the Gospel Accounts as part of the Praying with the Bible series. Today, wanted to talk about a passage where Jesus heals a man with leprosy, and really interesting what I found out with this. So you've got Matthew, Mark, and Luke all tell this story. Um, and with the pattern that we're following, we're going kind of chronologically, and so chronologically this has been put pretty early in the gospel story. Matthew actually tells the story right after the Sermon on the Mount, which I think is really indicative. A lot of scholars have kind of looked at the Sermon on the Mount as kind of the mission statement of Jesus. So it starts out with kind of the birth story of Jesus and then jumps pretty much right into the Sermon on the Mount really early on. And then you can kind of see that, like, this is what God's kingdom looks like. And then after that, Matthew goes on to really play out the Sermon on the Mount for the rest of, or at least a good chunk of the middle of his account of the gospel. And so this is the first thing that comes after the Sermon on the Mount. And so Matthew thought, like, this is the first example of what it looks like for the kingdom to come. Um, and so this guy comes and he has leprosy. And so, if you have grown up in the Bible, hearing different Bible stories, seeing different, like pictures and videos and things like that that kind of show this story, we kind of have an idea of what a leper is, or even outside of biblical context. Lepers are in, movies and TV shows and other, like, it's a thing. So, like, we have this idea of leprosy as this this like rotting sort of disease, like your body's just rotting off of you as you're alive. It's like a living death, which really reminds me a lot of when God tells Adam and Eve, like, you're going to be cut off. If you eat from this fruit, you will be removed from the source of life. And they don't die, they wither, is the word that gets used there. So you'll wither if you eat from this eat from this fruit. And so these lepers, their bodies are just withering, they're rotting before they're even dead, which I think is significant. And that's kind of how I've always pictured it. But when I started looking into the meaning of the word leper, the Greek word there means scaly, or at least it comes from the same sort of idea as scaly. And so this person is covered in something that the word should remind us of the word scales. So he's covered in this scaliness. And even in, I think it was Luke's account, where it doesn't just say that, he was scaly. It says that he was replete with scaliness. So this guy's covered. He's as scaly as can be, which should look an awful lot like when God is talking to Adam and Eve and the serpent in Genesis 3. He says that there's going to be a lineage of the woman and there's going to be a lineage of the serpent. And people can be more serpent-like, people can be more like humans, and this person at least looks about as snaky as can be. Not saying that he was an awful person, but at least appearance is very scaly. And he comes and Jesus heals this person. The other thing that was really interesting, is Matthew says that he bowed down before Jesus. So that's kind of, I think, what we normally picture is this person kind of like falls to their knees like a knight when they're getting knighted, come and I'm going to kneel down before you to honor you, which could be the case. Luke says that he alighted upon where Jesus was looking. Um, which is kind of a weird way of talking about it. But Mark says that he came to Jesus and fell upon his knees. And the his there is a pronoun in the Greek. It doesn't say whose knees. But we tend to think, like, he fell on his own knees, like he knelt down. But it was interesting, the day that I was translating this, I'd been listening to the Iliad, and in that story, which is in the same-ish Greek that this would have been written in, Achilles is on the warpath, and this guy is worried that he's going to get killed. And it says that he fell down and grabbed Achilles' knees. He didn't fall on his own knees; he fell on Achilles' knees, asking for mercy. And so, at least in Mark's account, he's coming and he's grabbing hold and saying, "Please be merciful to me." Um, which I thought was interesting. I don't know for sure that's what it's trying to communicate, but it's definitely possible that that's what's going on. And so you've got this guy who he's the embodiment of living death. He is as scaly as possible, so kind of reminiscent of the serpent's kingdom. But he came and he latched on to Jesus' lower extremity, which sounds an awful lot like a snake striking the heel. There's just a lot of accounts there. Really, all three accounts that we have say that this man fastened upon Jesus in the lower extremities, and so it's really this idea of the snake coming and fastening on to Jesus. Striking at his lower extremity, but instead of being able to kill him, the scaliness is removed. Um, the serpent doesn't have power to resist in that moment. It's the serpent is undone in that moment, and this person is healed from his scaliness, all through coming, asking for mercy, grabbing hold, and begging for mercy. So I thought that was really, really interesting, just how dramatic this story really is, beyond what I'd ever even imagined. So that's what I wrote about for this passage. I hope it was a blessing. Thanks.